But I guess we'll technically start now, even though I'm definitely adding all of what
You
most
can
of what we
edit
talked
or
about. Whatever. But
Yeah.
so this episode of the podcast is featuring my homie, known him for it's been almost 3-4 years now.
It has.
Shoot, dude,
It's pretty wild. Yeah.
I'm freaking crazy.
I think this is around year 4.
Yeah. This is Mr. Ian Rutherford, studying to do his DMA in trombone performance. Killer musician, knows too much. I'm always blown away.
This guy.
And
Too kind.
listens to everything, my homie Ian. So, what up, homie?
Thank you, sir. What a generous introduction.
Oh, shucks.
Glad to be here, my man. Excited to talk about some music.
Oh, for real. Like what were we just talking about? I don't even remember. Just
A lot of stuff
logistics
about
crazy
in
nonsense.
academia and sort of how music ed is structured, and and then it kind of got into this small school, big school.
Oh yeah, I mean, let's start there. Why not? Because I do want to get into what you're listening to right now, because who freaking knows what it is, and it's always fun. But let's kind of keep talking about that, like because we both came from smaller schools.
We did,
which I find, and I think you agree, are great experiences. There's a lot of like downfalls to them, but there's so many pros. Like the fact that like my instructors like encouraged me to do so many things outside of my primary wheelhouse.
Yes, I
am forever grateful on that.
I would agree. Yeah, I got to do a lot more things because they needed a lot more bodies and things. Yeah, we ran a what was it called? It was a band though that the school introduced like 10 years before I got there, and it was like people that were 75 years or older.
Really? Oh, that's awesome.
And so some of them were like pretty good musicians that were just retired and stuff, and that was like the band for conducting classes. Like when we were learning tunes, first suite in E flat or by Holst or something. It was like, get in front of this band. You're going to rehearse them. Everyone in the class is going to do one rehearsal with this band. And, they're just old people, so they're super generous. They're just stoked to be playing good music. Yeah. And, like, I feel like that's a program that would be really hard to set up at a big 10, just a big university in general.
100%. Like, I had this literally, like, just about the same experience. There were 2 things that we did here at Union. One was we each for the band and or the choir and or the orchestra, we would have 1 or 2 songs that we would fully rehearse and conduct.
Nice.
The whole one. I think they didn't necessarily do it for freshmen, but as soon as you did conducting class, you were conducting.
You were going to do one
all the way through.
And if you're music ed, especially, it's like you need that baton time. You need that time in front of people, learning how to hear things like need to hear things from that area. And be able to point out, and it's
100%.
Yeah, I mean, and I feel like it's so different at big schools because usually it's like we're gonna get a class of mixed instrumentation of people that are good musicians, and you're just gonna conduct this. I mean, and it works, and it is what it is. I mean, that's what it has to be, and I think it does its job. But it was nice being able to be in front of a big band, like a full concert 100%. Band with people. Yeah, and again, getting pushed into. I mean, I know they do this here, and I think this is a good thing of, like, in one of the lower bands or community bands playing a different instrument if you're in one of the skills classes or something like that. I think that's such a good thing.
One of the best practical things, especially for, like, teachers.
Yeah.
Like, that's...
You have to do it.
Oh, 100%. Like, I remember... Because when I started my undergrad, I wanted to do music ed. And look at me now after doing choral conducting and now vocal performance and media production. Who knows what's going to happen? All of it. But I remember I started wanting to do music ed, didn't even do I haven't done a single ed class whole time.
You might be better off, honestly.
Honestly, I think probably so.
I think taking a psych course, maybe like child psychology, was useful. I remember taking that and thinking, like this is very practical. Knowing how to understand how kids' minds work is pretty useful when you're teaching kids. But like history of American education, no offense to any historians of American education, couldn't tell you a single thing about it anymore. And I took the class, and I don't think I've ever used a moment of that. For music, the only thing that I can think of in the history of American education that we talk about is like the shaped note singing. Like the old solfege by rote, all like the church singing kind of stuff.
I feel
your
hand signs?
That I used to. In high school we did it.
I never learned them.
Undergrad, that was one thing that I think I was a little I missed out on because I was really good at it in high school. We were a big solfege school in high school, and then it was numbers.
Yeah.
Were you numbers?
I was literally none of them, and only because I think no, I wasn't any of them. But I also know that had I even tried to learn any of those things at that time, it would have gone in the same pile of stuff that I should know but can't possibly wrap my mind around.
I thought solfege was so helpful. Oh. So helpful.
It was. I think the most helpful bit was me doing chromatics. Oh, that was the one that I nailed down and like actually locked in. Because I was like, I need to probably know a half step so I can tell if I'm in tune or not.
Yeah, it might come up.
But like everything else, couldn't remember any of them. Like, and I knew like what they were, you know, but like it wasn't like quick access.
Oh yeah, it's gone now. Oh, yeah. I don't think I could even sign a major scale or anything.
Do,
re, mi, fa.
Okay.
So
why do you need two hands for this?
So, sorry, I went back to high school doing it right there.
I just didn't know either. I was like, I didn't know there was two hands.
Is it la?
And then
I thought this was
T. Close enough.
It was gone, and I used to know the chromatic scale too, and I thought it was super useful. And for kids that didn't know notes, they were picking up interval. And intervals and things like that. I had a piano, an old man piano performance guy that taught me aural skills, and he was like tone deaf.
Oh man.
Yeah, which there's one of the fallbacks of a small school.
Oh, 100%.
Is you don't get a vocalist or someone that
in each area.
Yeah, that has like experience in it. Yeah. He was thrust into, hey, we don't have an aural skills 2 teachers, so now you're going to do it.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like from Texas, and he had a terrible singing voice. And like we were all so much better at aural skills.
That's real funny. Like the very thing that actually I think helps out students for small schools is also the detriment. Just the fact that because like you'll be thrust into all these sort of things.
Yeah, you're going to have many roles.
But your instructors will also have the exact same situation. Yep. And unlucky for you, they're not necessarily
and some of
trained
that,
all the way.
I think some of that goes all the way up to the dean in some ways.
Oh, 100%.
Like, how do you not have a vocalist teaching aural skills? If that's an option, why aren't we using it? There's multiple vocal instructors here with doctorates, and you chose the piano performance guy? It's like
real not. Close.
Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe you could teach theory.
True.
Probably. Or history. Probably.
One
but aural skills. There's some other choices that could have been made.
It's something else. But, you know, I think that's something, especially as I look onto, like, the idea of music education, and especially, like, someone who who's been in it without going through, like, learning of it, you know? Like, I didn't go through the actual curriculum. Yeah. You know, I didn't go through any of that, but, like, I'm in it, you know?
Well, yeah, and you're a part of it every day.
100%.
And so much... and I think a lot of it too is you got to pay attention in ensembles and in lessons and pick up on the things that your instructors are doing. And I think that a lot of the time people just aren't doing that, and they, pick up bad habits that, they could have easily avoided just by listening to their own instructors and 100%. Picking up on what they do. But
that's what it is.
We're busy. We're all busy, Maybe we're in a bad mood or whatever. It could be a million things. But I feel like a lot of the good educational practices I learned were from my undergrad trombone instructor and doc. And they were in one-on-one settings of just how, maybe even just a conversation on how they taught someone else something. And I'm like, okay.
That practicality of it. Like, that's something I love, especially about, like, the classes I'm taking this year. Like, we've talked about this a lot. Like, we're both so about, like, the actual practicality of, like, what it is we're learning.
Yeah. Or else what's the point?
Exactly.
Especially at this point in our education. It's like
100%.
I don't need to waste my time with something that's not practical.
100%. And so, like, for me, I've been, like, really looking at, because, like, it's weird. Like, I'm a classical performance major, but I know I'm not. Right? Okay. You know what I mean? Like, because it's only an aspect. Yeah. Like, and that's where it is.
Well, and that's the problem with some very over, like, very overarched,
yeah.
ideas because we're both. I mean, I definitely love doing classical music,
Same.
and I could perform it for the rest of my life and be very happy. But if I couldn't do other genres as well, I wouldn't be living up to what I should be.
Yeah.
Like we should be expected to know and study and perform a lot of things that we're not right now. And I think there will be sort of a reckoning of sorts in academia at some point with that, because I mean, when did that start being studied?
100%. Like
Maybe 20 years ago.
yeah.
I think Doc has been teaching that course for 20, 25 years tops. And I bet he's one of the early academics that was like, this is important.
Music theater also like about that same time frame roughly.
Exactly. Yeah, the
Maybe
90s or early 2000s is when that was like, this is legitimate now.
Yeah.
And it's so like, I mean, in 40 years, you might be performing War Pigs by Black Sabbath.
So sick.
Yeah, at a recital, which would be a dream.
It would be so cool.
Yeah.
The logistics of that, like I really like thinking about that because I've been thinking about my vocal recitals and how I want to make them happen, knowing that I really am going to need like actual ensembles to accompany me.
Yep.
Which is a whole skill set that honestly, again, performers for sure should be developing. Classical performers kind of do if they're doing like chamber stuff.
I was gonna say
like chamber ensembles, like you kind of get the idea and you kind of do it.
Yeah,
anything
definitely.
outside of that though, not as much. Like it's harder to get an orchestra together, but what
a little bit harder,
way harder. But like, what exactly do you need to make an orchestra? Maybe like 7 people, right? Just about somewhere around there, like to get just enough of it. Like if you need,
if you need a string orchestra, you could easily have 7
exactly.
people. Yeah,
like if you, because like you think about like studio recording orchestras, like they're not always huge, and so if like that's all the sound you really need, unless you need doubles, triples of a part, right?
Well, and if it's with a vocalist in that setting, you could
condense it.
Yeah, 5 strings. You could sing very easily over that and be comfortable and not feel like you're just having to belt.
Hey man.
Yeah.
And so like that kind of a thing, like that's what I like thinking about that for me and my stuff. Like I was talking with Greg about this, and next month, once he's actually got some more time, I'm gonna talk about like seeing if maybe I could do like a collab with J.O. or a big band for like a full recital, like make it my whole recital.
Nice.
Because
and I feel like you could very easily get together. A big band is a hell of a lot easier to get together
than a full.
Yeah, and I feel like most people. I mean, for you too, I feel like you could get good enough players where we could be like, I'm gonna learn my tunes. We're gonna meet up 3 times in total, and then do the thing.
Oh yeah, and that's what I'm.
Most people would be about that.
Yeah. Or
you just have to
together
find
a combo.
You just got to find the charts, the arrangements of the charts.
That's the tricky.
You know, you got to find some of those Sinatra at the Sands, Quincy Jones arrangements.
Ooh, speaking of that, have you seen Quincy's documentary? I don't. Oh, freaking
great!
So great.
It was so good.
I loved that so much.
I love
actually,
that guy.
I didn't even actually know about it somehow until a couple weeks ago. I was watching a video by Joyce DiDonato. The soprano, and she had.
That's a random way to find out about the
I know
documentary.
Because I don't know if I talked to you about her Tiny Desk that she did a while back, or if you've seen it. Oh, it's sick.
Okay, nice.
Because what she did was, because she's operatic soprano through and through. Like she took the like standard vocal rep that everyone gets for their freshman year singing that everyone always one way or another butchers, that sort of thing.
These standards
those standard classical vocal rep. She took those, and she, with her music director, pianist, and a little combo, did jazz arrangements of them.
Oh, nice. Wow.
Which was sick.
Okay.
Now, before you think Joyce DiDonato was singing like jazz style, no, she sang completely operatic like the whole time. She did growl once, which was sick.
It's like Audra McDonald singing jazz, and I love her too, but it's
different.
It's definitely not jazz.
But it was really, really cool how it was put together.
Yeah.
I remember, I think I watched it a year or so ago.
We should be reconstructing some of those, because why not?
Exactly.
Especially for people that have done them the right way before. It's like, something new.
100%. Like it's so cool and such an awesome, like, I'm always looking at it from the perspective of like opportunities to make new music, even especially out of old music.
Yeah.
Like so sick. Like I've talked to you about doing my R&B dish label, which is gonna happen at some point, or doing just taking French melody and making jazz arrangements of that. That's something also I'm gonna try and do that for my what's the lecture?
Lecture
for
recital?
my lecture. I'm gonna try and get that happening for my lecture.
Nice. That's a good idea.
So cool, right? But like she had mentioned in an interview, it was like a 20-40 minute interview that she was doing for, I think it's called Classical Life or something. And she literally said something about like she was watching the Quincy documentary, and she had said he had said something about like we've only been using like these 12 notes. Like this whole time, like where he's talking to that young kid doing playing for his house party or whatever it was.
Yeah. Was that Joey Alexander?
It wasn't Joey. It was another dude. I think it was a bassist.
Okay.
But or it might have been another pianist actually. But
I don't remember. I watched it like the week it came out. So I haven't watched it in a long time.
I also would like to take note that in that, as much as I go back and forth on Jacob Collier all the time, as we do.
I don't listen to him that much, but damn it, do I respect him.
100%. I did find it really hilarious how he popped up near like the beginning of the documentary like 3 different times.
Well, he's the guy now.
He was in it.
Yeah.
And yet like they legit like cut him out of it.
Because he was a nobody at that point.
100%. Yeah. Even at points where I think he was kind of closer to someone.
Somebody. At least one Grammy
at least
that point.
At that point. But like like the way they did it, like they were like, this is Quincy and Quincy's friends. So like it was like it was like
little Jacob Collier,
Quincy Herbie.
Yeah, like, we're gonna focus on the 2 legends, not this young British punk.
And I was like, that's hilarious. It wasn't like, you know the feeling.
Yeah. Was I upset it happened?
I felt all right. Yeah. I didn't cry.
I forgot about it already, honestly. But yeah, no, I mean, I like Jacob Collier.
Oh yeah. Speaking of which, what are you listening to right now?
What am I listening to? So my New Year's resolution this year,
go on,
was to make a playlist a week with no repeated songs.
All right.
For the entire year.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah. So I have to make mine for this week still, which we could talk about right now. We might put it together. But yeah, I mean, so this last week I was listening to a lot of Julia Holter.
Okay.
In particular, the album "Have You in My Wilderness." Great album. Very eclectic stuff. Used a lot of electronic instruments, but it's quite out there. But there's some very beautiful ambient type moments in it that I really like. Very good stuff. So I've been jamming on that album a lot. What else have I been listening to? We have a malpractice gig on the 24th.
Oh, okay.
So I've been listening to a lot of what I'm singing for that.
That tracks.
As well. Yeah.
I've got a gig on the 24th of next month.
Yeah, gotta learn those songs. And we added a few new ones. Actually, so the most important album that I've been listening to as of recently is Little Sim's new album. Have you listened to Little Sim's new album?
I have
British
not.
rapper. Every one of her albums is really good. Gray Area was an awesome album as well. And pretty much everything I'm looking up at her right now is like, whew, good stuff. But yes, this last album, Sometimes I Might Be an Introvert. Maybe not a bad song on the whole record.
Yeah.
Very good stuff. Very intelligent rapper. Great flow. Good beats. Some good featured artists as well. So that's a good one that if you haven't checked out,
oh, you know
I recommend.
That's every time you come up saying something new, that's what I was saying. You know too much music.
I'm always on the lookout though.
See, that's the move. Like I always get like caught up like because I always just hop back and forth so much. But then I'll sit in an album for a long time. That's the thing that I do.
I'm always like finding 1 or 2 new songs off of new albums, and then I'll sit on that album for a long time. And while I'm doing that, maybe find 1 or 2 more songs, and then sit on an album. But I try and always find like a couple new songs every day if I can,
That's
of some type. And I try to find them in all different genres as well. And the playlist that I've been trying to make, I'm trying to use a lot of different music.
Oh,
and they've all been an hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours long.
Ooh.
So consistently like 25 to 30 songs.
That's solid. I mean, that's enough to drive you back up and down from there.
There's a lot. There's been weeks where I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna use, and then there's other weeks where I'm like, I have so much stuff that I'll have to put this on 3 or 4 playlists.
100%.
But yeah, another album that I've just been going back. This is the album actually we talked this morning when that student came up to me.
Yeah.
He's like, yo, is this album really good? And I was like, literally a perfect album as well. Go check it out. Jamila Woods, Legacy. And this is an older album. This is 2019.
Oh, yeah.
But one of my favorite albums of that year, I remember being absolutely obsessed with it when it came out. And all of the songs are based on, like, they are titled after famous artists, usually people of color. You know, we have, I'm assuming, Frida Kahlo. I'm assuming Eartha Kitt, Miles Davis. I'm assuming Muddy Waters, I would assume.
Oh, yeah.
Sun Ra. James Baldwin, I would assume. Hopefully Betty Davis, because Betty Davis is the queen. But yeah, so like another great album, really good stuff. An R&B with some hip hop and some rap in there, but usually a live full group, which I love. That's what I was talking to him about when he walked up. I think, I'm not sure, but I think it's Ronald Bruner Jr., who's Thundercat's brother, I think. Who's playing drums on some of those tracks. Monster drummer. Played with Kamazi. Dude could play so fucking just so fast. But yeah, great drummer. A lot of those great Dilla beats. Some of that off-kilter grooves, which how can you not love?
Of course.
But yeah, I've been listening to a lot of that. Actually, you know what I've been classical or vocal music I've been jamming on. And I'll never stop jamming on. I literally listen to The Singers Unlimited on a weekly basis and have for like 6 years.
Gene
Perling is a god.
What was I listening?
Gene Perling.
I was listening to. It was a few weeks ago now. I was literally outside doing yard work, and I had just started playing. I think it was woman vocals off of like some Ella album or something.
Okay.
And I got to come on, don't let me forget her name now. Oh, and I forgot her name. Blossom Dearie.
Oh yeah, beautiful voice.
Freaking fantastic.
Yeah, one of Miles Davis's biggest influences on his playing style in that period. I heard her singing. It's a very different voice too.
100%.
Yeah, no one else sounds like her.
And what's hilarious too is like I was listening to her and I was like, I know this voice from somewhere. Why do I know this voice? Schoolhouse Rock.
Oh, did she sing on some of those
sang Figure Eight for sure.
No way.
Yeah.
I did not know that was Blossom Dearie.
I was like, what?
Nice.
Like, I was like,
I know
that's
that
why
voice.
I know her
Yeah.
voice.
Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah.
Schoolhouse Rock is great.
Oh, freaking so great.
Rock.
I need to just watch some Schoolhouse Rock.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's on.
I think it's on Disney Plus. I think they have some of those collections on there.
Man,
what great songwriting.
I know.
I would kill to have a show like that right now that is teaching kids about conjunctions
100%.
And how a bill is made with some just hip songwriter. Yeah, that would be
the dope thing about that too. That I really like the idea of, because I'm thinking of video projects always now.
Find an animator.
Exactly. You find
an
animator.
Make kid songs that are cool.
That's a literal YouTube channel in the making.
Easy. Yep.
Don't you dare steal our idea.
TM.
Give it 5 years. If we haven't done it by then, then you can steal it.
I got some friends that are already writing and making an animation show.
See, that'd be so.
It would be. You have to find
the perfect time to come back too.
Yep. You have to find someone that's really good at graphic design for it to be good, though. I feel like you got to have a new or creative animation style for it to work.
But I mean,
and the songs have to work too.
Oh yeah, 100%. But there's enough stuff because I mean, I don't know why I didn't even think about this because I had thought about doing like animated stuff specifically on like music content,
Yep.
like music ed sort of content,
Yep.
going over that sort of stuff, which has kind of happened here and
doing
there, but it
theory and
hasn't
stuff.
it hasn't fully like blossomed or anything.
Okay.
Because I mean, it takes a lot of time, and usually the people that are doing it are both musician and animator.
Yep.
And so out the window.
Yeah.
You know, like I think
lot of work.
Louis Zong has a video on like what is it on? I think just chords, like
Okay.
basics on chords.
And it's fully animated.
Yeah, fully animated, but he animates it himself and does the music for it. So it's like really well done, but
Yeah.
that takes a month or two or more.
And he's probably
to do by
editing
himself.
it and doing
exactly. So
everything
he's
alone.
doing all of it himself, which is sick. But like I already know, my skill does not currently lie in animation.
Yeah, that
Like,
would take some time for
it
me
would
too.
take even longer. I would have to learn how to draw and animate, which is cool. But there's other stuff I'm trying to learn to do.
Is it that practical
Yeah,
right now?
not too helpful for
Yeah.
me. So like, and I'm all
That
about
is a good
collaborating
idea.
anyways, you know?
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the perfect collaboration
Exactly.
idea right there.
So like doing something like that, especially going and branching out in different areas.
and
is
if
the
it's
key.
kid songs too,
Yeah.
I feel like that's
You make a good kid song
and
and
you can
you're
take
rolling.
that to schools.
Yeah.
You can know that's where you can get in with some of these Lincoln public schools. Be like,
Mm-hmm.
yo, I wrote this kid song. You know, it is appropriate.
Oh yeah.
It's good for them. It should be educational. You know,
And you are gonna like the music.
yeah, and you'll
because it is good.
and it's catchy, and your kids will remember whatever the song is about.
I will never forget that figure eight is double four.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, yeah.
Like,
I know how a bill is made into a law because
Yeah.
of Schoolhouse Rock, and I don't think I would have remembered that from government class in high school.
oh Lord, no, of course
and
not.
I think our government teachers showed that video too. Because how can you not? That's just gold.
that's so freaking cool, and that's what I
Yeah.
love about like where we are now, especially because like all these ideas, for one, like are dope and possible, and especially in a spot where we have the opportunities of stuff like YouTube
Yep.
and even TikTok, which I wish I could wrap my brain around that properly.
Yeah, I love TikTok.
I love it, but
I've
I
never
also
done
know like I
anything on
can't
it.
like
Yeah.
like to do it. I'm like, oh good Lord, there's just it's
Overwhelming. Yeah.
so overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like I'm barely doing YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. I struggle uploading my recitals to YouTube, you know?
Like I'm barely doing this podcast every other week.
Yeah.
And then trying to do another video or two on top of that. Like
Yeah.
it's so much. But like these are the cool opportunities that I think, especially in that education side of things,
And it gets easier, I bet. I could easily
100%.
see it becoming mindless work.
100%.
You know, the hard part about it, it becoming mindless work, and then this is the fun part. You know?
Oh, yeah.
And after you get good at uploading and editing, it's just kind of
Oh yeah,
Here's
like
the-
I've started getting into my own
Yeah.
editing flow now after
Yeah.
long enough, and I'm
Nice.
like, oh, I know at least enough about the colors that I need so that it doesn't look stupid. I know
Yeah.
enough about making these cuts that it doesn't sound stupid and look dumb. Like all of this sort of stuff. Like
Yeah.
it just takes a little bit of practice and stuff, and then you've got it locked down enough
Yep.
that expectation of everyone else, the collective public expectation, is
They don't know anything.
well below. Yeah. Like
I don't know anything.
No one knows, right, exactly.
And
No
we're
one knows
all,
anything.
we're all out there knowing nothing about this stuff.
straight up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't wait because we were talking about how like the reckoning for music academia. Like I cannot wait for that to include not only other styles, but also other performance opportunities. Like that's
Yep.
what my document's about.
Yep.
Like I just want so bad for people to be creative. You know?
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of gotten lost in the academia of it all. It's just like you're here to learn and you're here to learn in this specific way. And I think a lot of teachers are doing a good job of teaching. I think especially at UNL. I mean, I think I have really liked all the professors I've had, I think, here. I don't think
Yeah.
there's one where I'm like, yeah, I would never take that person's class again.
Yeah. Like I would even some classes I don't think I would want to take unless they were restructured.
And I'm talking classes.
Yeah.
And I'm going to specify
Yeah,
that.
like some classes
Yes.
I wouldn't want to necessarily take unless they were restructured, right?
Yep.
But the instructors for those classes, the thing I've started to learn a lot more and recognize is like their passion and their heart for what it is that they want to teach just
Yes,
isn't being able to be
sometimes,
conveyed into the
exactly.
class, which I wish could be fixed. And it's
Yeah.
got to be in one way or another. Like I can't believe that it isn't able to be fixed.
Yeah,
That's what I
there's
can't believe.
It's a lot of there's a lot of that mumbo jumbo of
So much.
of the higher ups outside of the music school or arts in general that just don't get it and don't really care to get it.
True.
And I think there's a problem that it goes all the way up to the top. I mean, let's be
100%.
real. I mean, we're one of many civilized countries that does not appreciate the arts. But in Europe, there's, I mean, Germany, for instance.
Oh, yeah.
You can, I don't want to say it's easier to make a living, but it's a lot more plausible to make a living as an artist out there.
Especially classical artists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's just so many more opportunities to do it. And I think it's more nurtured from childhood up. Like in school, I feel like in America, and I don't want to put all of us into a box, but I feel like I didn't feel like anyone gave a crap about music except for the music teacher. 100%. And I felt like they were so caught up in school that it didn't matter that they were passionate about the music in some points, especially middle school is where I noticed that the most. And that's when I got one of my favorite music teachers and one of my biggest influences. But you could just tell that there's a lot of bullshit.
Yeah. Like
in it.
It's so unfortunate too, because I mean, I didn't go to any school, honestly, but like
until now,
until now, right? Like until the very end,
the very end of it.
But like for all of my middle school, elementary, everything, like, and especially like private, like church-based schools and stuff, like you're gonna run into so much like the benefit of a smaller school is not really a benefit under college.
Yep,
like
I would
it
agree.
Really isn't that much of a benefit because you do still have those people just put into the positions that aren't trained enough to actually teach you this, and you as a student aren't trained enough, don't have the cognitive understanding and function well enough then to be able to actually facilitate your own growth and understand
figure stuff out on your own then,
like you, like minusculely in high school, a couple kids rarely in middle school, right? Like it doesn't work out that way.
And usually those kids have some type of musical parent.
100%.
Or family member of some type. Usually
and they're going
already being pushed in that direction.
Oh yeah, like I think about some of my kids, like learning piano and stuff. Like their teacher, I know, and for a lot of them, like, and we're good friends because we went to Union together, and so like. We constantly talk about stuff, and like I'm reinforcing everything that she's teaching. I know already, and she's reinforcing the stuff that I'm teaching. And I'm always like, "Look, send me one of your kids that's just doing percussion because they think it's easy. Please send them to me so that they can learn what a 16th note really is."
Well, and percussion, that's a rude awakening, I think, for a lot of middle schoolers. Wait. It's not just the snare drum?
One of my kids asked me today, he was like, which is easier, piano or drums? And I was like, neither.
Yeah.
Or is drums harder than piano? I was like, it can be.
Yeah. Here, let me show you this recording.
And I proceeded to open my book and be like, you see these notes that you don't even know yet?
Yeah.
My 7-year-old or 6-year-old drum student knows them now.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, you do learn rhythms a lot earlier.
A lot earlier.
That was one of my favorite things to teach. My dad's a percussionist. My brother's a percussionist. I wanted to be a percussionist in 5th grade. I had a snare drum. I'd learned how to do double stroke rolls and paradiddles and a few of the other easy rudiments. And I was about it and I loved it. And when I got there was like 30 kids from my class that were like, I have 2 years of piano because I want to be a percussionist, and now I'm going to be a percussionist. And I was like, okay, well, I don't want to do percussion anymore. Trombone was cool, and we had a family friend who's in the Alabama Symphony.
Oh, that's sick.
So yes, I grew up listening to really, really good trombone. So it was a very easy choice for me if it wasn't going to be percussion, which I grew up hearing my dad play that stuff too. And so, yeah, I grew up in a musical house. I feel like I definitely had advantages for theory and stuff like that over a lot of people at the private school. And I feel like something that in general is bad is that singers or vocalists aren't taught notes aren't taught rhythms, and they're not taught key signatures. And I feel like it's so useful to know that as a singer, and I don't get why it's not a thing.
I
like
think
that.
it's so weird because I
You have to
agree
learn
100%.
it on an instrument.
We've talked about this so many times.
Yeah.
Like, I really, and the more I think about it, I think of so many excuses as to why it's not. But every time I'm like, that's just an excuse. That's exactly what it becomes.
Yep.
Because like I think about there are instrumentalists, physical instrument, whatever you want to call them, like instrumentalists that don't know their key signatures. True.
Oh, yeah. All the way through high school, you'll find at least a couple of those.
There's a lot of them. But like at a certain point, they're forced to do it because like for juries, you got to play your scales or your whatevers, and you got to show that you know what you're doing. And you got to know what the key is.
And even some college auditions, they make you play 100%. Multiple scales.
Me, like, I don't care if you just say, like, rather than say, sing a C scale or sing a D scale, like,
sing a major scale.
Exactly.
Sing a minor scale.
Because that's where then, like, it makes a little more sense and is more helpful because, sure, if you don't know G sharp major versus B flat major off your ear, fine.
Yeah, whatever. Life goes on. You'll be fine.
If you don't, like, as a vocalist, you should, rather than necessarily knowing the letter names, you should definitely know, one, the intervals that create every scale that you can. And that includes modes. Because there are classical songs, especially older ones,
I was going to say
that use modes.
And,
like, if you're using Renaissance music, you can have modes, which allows you to both have a foot in Renaissance music and jazz at the same time.
And pop.
And whatever. Yeah, all sorts of stuff.
Use a lot of it.
Learn your pentatonic, learn your octatonic, learn all of these things because...
Singing an octatonic scale...
I still can't do that.
It would be really hard.
I need to work that out still.
Yeah, that's like, a rough one.
That's something that's like so beneficial that 100% a vocalist could learn if they were just explained, this is what you need to do. These are the notes you need. Like, because like it's also expected. I remember when I was doing my undergrad, not knowing how to play piano well, because like I took piano lessons and guitar lessons. I thought I was too good for reading notes for my guitar lessons. So
I think that's a pretty classic guitar.
And tabs teach me everything.
I could read those really quickly.
Yeah, no problem, because I know the song.
I was there.
So sad. But like my piano, it wasn't that great, right? And so when I come into undergrad, having to play my part on the piano, and I'm like, I don't know how to do this. Like, I can't do this. And so resort to listening to recordings because, you know, that's what you got to do. Like,
you develop an ear pretty well.
You develop an ear for sure. You also develop bad habits if you're not careful trying to copy other people's sound. Which, like, that's why I'm so glad I listen to, like, sopranos whenever I learn my stuff because it forces me to not be able to sing what they're singing. Like, and,
that's true.
And it gave me a predisposition also because oftentimes I relate my voice better to sopranos than most tenors. Just because, like,
interesting.
Most of the tenors I end up hearing are those
whiny.
Yeah, like Ian Bostriches and stuff.
Yeah, and kind of a whiny sound.
Yeah, and I'm not about that.
Me either. I mean, and I'm no true vocalist. I just can sing rock sometimes. And I did all that stuff in high school, and I was in all that stuff. And I love singing, but I mean, I couldn't sing operatic tenor. If you put it in front of me, I would crash and burn. I could sing Broadway tenor. Hey,
that's a move.
I could do that.
It's a move.
I could sing rock.
Hey,
sing pop.
There we go.
Classical. No one would want to hear that unless it was like English 20th century, like maybe like a Samuel Barber.
Those are a fun time.
Song cycle or something like I can maybe pull that off.
Or your good old Ralph Vaughan.
yeah. I mean, I love me some Ralph Vaughan Williams. Yeah, Rafe is. I could sing that stuff. Yeah, and maybe some Britain
too. That's some
some beautiful music. Actually, a thing that you should think about putting on a recital. I don't remember the exact title, but it's for tenor, strings, horn, and harp.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah, and it's Benjamin Britten song cycle. I gotta. Is this it?
See,
well, also too, he has arrangements of it's Nocturnal after John Dowland, early.
Oh yeah.
A guitar, and it's for tenor and guitar. Which would be another cool, pretty awesome. Hip ensemble that I think, and it's Benjamin Britten.
See, and that's something.
Great music.
You see, you mentioning that, and it's only because we like very similar musical stuff.
Yeah,
it's just like I'm always looking for something that's not that standard. stuff. You know, because everyone's heard a dude sing to a piano.
Papagainas aria from which we're gonna have to hear. I truly despise that aria. So every year of my undergrad, we had the concerto competition, and 3 of the 4 years we had a different bass sing Papagainas aria. And so I I love Magic Flute. I think it's great. If any of you haven't seen Ingrid Bergman's movie version of the opera, if you've never seen that,
I'm gonna need to watch that. Yeah,
awesome. Are you in the opera?
No.
Are you doing? Okay,
I didn't do any ensembles.
It is a great movie version of an opera, about as good as they get.
See, I like
but it
that.
is Magic Flute.
See, it's what it is.
I like Magic Flute sometimes.
Yeah.
It does have one of the earliest trombone sections in music.
There
So
we go.
props to Mozart.
Straight up.
Yep.
Him and his trombones and clarinets. Move, pushing forward.
Got a spot right here for him.
But yeah, I love that non-standard sort of rap stuff.
That's the kind of stuff that I like a lot as well, and I think that it's just stuff that's not performed, and I really don't know why. And I think part of it too is
the logistics of getting people together is hard.
Yeah,
I agree. But I think especially for somewhere like here,
when we have the numbers to be able to
have the numbers, we have anyone that even if we weren't able to get Pete to play guitar, right, or Malachi or whoever, or Tetsuya maybe even, but there's Daniel Martinez who's in town and he gigs all the time and he's a phenomenal classical guitarist.
Oh, nice.
It establishes relationships with musicians in the area so that you actually get professional, practical relationships, which is one thing that I know I would almost say no, I don't want to say it that way, but for a lot of students, that's very lacking. You don't get that necessarily without a lot of extra effort or without a teacher that really
that's saying you're going and you're going to go do this.
100%.
It's going to be good for you.
Because a master's, maybe a master's student, right? But for sure, a doctorate student hopefully knows how to
sell themselves a little bit.
Yeah, and actually go out, reach out to people, be able to get stuff going together. But I'll be honest, I didn't know how to do that until this last 3 years.
It's a weird feeling if you've never done it. And I think I gained a lot of experience doing this kind of crap just by being a band teacher.
Yeah.
Because you're having to, I did my own solo contests and stuff at my school and tried to get a couple other small schools involved and finding judges. And I was in charge of the musical and all that stuff. And you have to reach out to people in the community and colleges for musicals, especially at a small school. It's you have to go find costumes.
Oh, yeah.
So you have to reach out to a college to be like, hey, we're doing this musical. Do you have any costumes that would fit in this area? Could we, borrow them for this long? We can pay you if you need, blah, blah, blah. But it's the same thing as
100%.
Kind of just hey, I got a group. We're good. Here's some recordings of us.
Oh, yeah.
If you have any openings, we'd love to play.
100%. And that opens you up so much more to stepping outside and doing that in more non-standard sort of stuff. All over the place, which is, I firmly believe, one very key way that you can make a unique name for yourself easily.
Oh, yeah.
Because the number of people
Bobby.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a great example.
100%.
Came out of nowhere. He's the guy.
Yeah, 100%.
Because he knew how to
just hop in there and do that. Yeah.
That's another thing. Music performance should require a music business class for the degree.
100%.
More so than even intro into grad studies in my eyes. I feel like if you don't know how to write, you're going to figure it out or you're going to get left behind.
100%.
I mean, even in that class, that's how it felt. I feel like I could have gained so much more learning. Audio stuff, video stuff, website stuff.
Because
learning
a
how
website
to talk
is
to people.
your website should be, or your YouTube channel, or your Instagram, or your whatever, should at this point be pretty close to your portfolio as a performer.
Yep, that is what it is.
That's what people look at it as. So whether it be that you go all out and have your own separate individual one, or you just say all of them. All of my social media is my professional social media. Either way you want to play it, right?
Yep.
You still need to understand how it works because if I didn't have my website already, like there are people that I've collaborated with that literally just like, because I either have my website in my email signature, or because they just Googled my name, find my website, watch a recital that I gave, and are like, oh, I like you doing this. And I was like, what? When did you? Oh, that's right.
Yeah. This is posted, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. But like, that's one of the best ways to like foster those collaborations, without much effort.
Yeah, or literally almost any effort at all. I mean,
really.
I mean, once it's up there,
it's just there.
It's there, and it's going to help you.
100%.
I mean, that's something that's one of my goals for the end of the doctorate is get a good website up, get it nice and clean, have some good recordings, have some good videos, have some new headshots. That's something that needs to be done after a haircut or two.
Headshot at some point.
Yeah, well, and that's another thing. Like, I feel like we're not taught how to, especially in the modern world of music, especially because so much stuff is online now. It's like we need to be taught how to sell ourselves as performers.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And it's so different than because I mean, you couldn't sell yourself as a performer in nearly the same way 40 years ago.
No way. And I mean, the crazier, not even the crazier thing, but like the crazy thing with that too is, like, I understand that we're doing degrees in academia, and actually, Bobby's fiance Josie actually said this.
Okay,
she said, literally, academia, like music academia, prepares you just to be in music academia.
Yes, that is
which is true. Which is exactly what it's for.
Yeah, you'll be fine if you decide to stay in university
you'll be perfectly
life.
fine if you stay in that space.
And even then, I feel like they don't prepare you for some of the
additional things,
the emails and the meetings, and because I remember for teaching band, when you go to music ed, I mean, I was so gung ho. I was like, I'm gonna be a high school band director. I'm gonna have some sick jazz band,
Yeah,
I was like all about them. I was like, I'm gonna have a combo. I'm gonna do the music for musicals and all this stuff. And it's like, most of the time, you're just sending emails back to parents and other faculty members, or you're teaching kids that are being forced to be in 100% in music, or they truly hate it and they're like not.
Yeah, like which is so freaking draining. It's ridiculous.
It does. Yeah, every one of my mentors, like for student teaching and all that, none of them listen to music.
Yeah,
which was like maybe the first sign for me that I shouldn't do this job.
100%.
Like, and I saw it as a warning sign, but I was like, that won't be me.
And that's what's crazy too, because I got lucky because I didn't have to teach for long.
Yeah.
Because I only taught for a semester, just being a long-term sub.
Oh, okay.
And so it was great because it was at a small high school, private high school. So I was the music director and did everything. Oh, so nice. I got an accelerated experience teaching their handbells, their choir, their band / orchestra, private lessons in whatever instrument, even though I like strings.
That is what it is.
I know for a fact no one's good at violin until they played it for 20 years.
Yeah.
So
I'm a very very poor violinist as well. My bow technique. I don't even know how to hold this. Yeah, not I can't great. Do it. And the different positions. Oops, sorry. But not for me.
Doing that, I got really lucky that I only did it for a semester, but also I tried my best to listen to music, but it was unless you can figure out a way to make it practically apply directly to what you're teaching.
I did that,
which is exactly
but
right.
Not in a good way, and probably not the. I was pretty much like, we're gonna do a 20-minute lesson. Maybe I'm gonna show you a piece of music or a song that you're gonna like at the end.
See.
If you practiced, if you didn't practice, we're gonna be working the whole time.
We're gonna be practicing the whole time. But I got lucky too because everything was kind of set up for me already.
And
which
there's
is
the expectation.
Which is the trick. That's the trick.
It is
because when you're actually in charge, you have to set everything up. You have to, especially if you're new, undo things from the old teacher. Make new things that should have been
for you.
So much, right? All of this sort of stuff. I got lucky because I knew the teacher. Right?
Well, that was part of, so my student teaching, one of my supervisors was pregnant and she had her baby. And so I just took her job.
Yeah.
When she was gone for 3 weeks to a month of that first, month of the kid being in there, she was pretty much like, well, this will be a great opportunity for you. I won't be there at all. It's up to you. You're in charge of everything. And I was like, this is awesome, though. You know, I was stoked. And they already had expectations put into place. So these kids listened to whatever I said.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't have to work hard. And I was like, oh, my gosh,
Amen.
teaching is awesome. This is great. We're getting things done. These kids are listening to me. And then when I started teaching for real, these kids hated me because I wasn't the last lady, and the lady before me was pregnant as well, actually, and had her kid, and didn't do anything. She was barely there when she was there. Literally,
that's insane.
Some of the stories. So one of my middle schoolers came in first week of lessons and was like, I don't have my instrument. And I was like, well,
what?
Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, why? And they're like, well, because the Mrs. H or whatever let us just sit on our laptops during lessons.
What?
Yeah, so they would just leave their class and go sit in the band room.
What?
Yeah, so I had my sixth graders didn't know how to hold their instruments correctly, didn't know how to play anything. So it was as low of a band from bottom to top, high school even. They didn't learn a thing for the last 2 years. Yeah, she would like... For her, she hosted a solo contest, and then this blows my mind. Decided I don't feel very good the day of, and called the choir teacher and was like, "Hey, can you run my solo contest for me?" Wow. And the choir director, who is a great friend of mine, one of my favorite people ever, was like, "No." It's just going to get canceled if you don't show up. I'm not going to do any of that. That's so much work that is not in my contract. I'm not doing that. So she showed up and was fine, you know.
Yeah.
But like that was where the band was at when I got there, and they all hated me because I was like super passionate and really wanted to make a good band. And like maybe 5 or 6 of the high schoolers were like, he really wants to do well, so we're gonna listen to him. And then the other 30 of them were like, I can't believe this new guy. He wants us to practice.
He wants me to play my instrument.
Yeah, he wants to play difficult music. And like by difficult music, I mean Leroy Anderson's Sleigh Ride, which we didn't get to play because it was too hard.
Oh my God.
So that can show you where the band was at.
See, that's so insane. Like that speaks to so many things of one, teach how do you get a job? One, how do you get a degree to do said job? Two, like,
how did you get through all of that work?
How did
to just not do anything?
Like, how did that not show up anywhere? Because you didn't have to teach.
Is not a teacher anymore.
Well, they were never a teacher.
Yeah, we're all better off.
Yeah, 100%.
We're all better off that way.
But like, it's so crazy, man. Yeah. Like, but I really feel that two things. One, like there's always a way or an opportunity to actually like, because we know of good music teachers. We've hopefully been them, you know?
Yeah, I tried.
Yeah. And like there's so many ways to go about it, and so many ways, I think, especially that I really want to think that there's a way to actually teach people to teach. Not everyone, right? Like not everyone is suited to actually teach. Like everyone has their different skill sets, right? And abilities. But what you should be able to find out and what you should be encouraged to do is find where your strengths actually lie, for one.
Yes.
And if you feel like you have to do it, even though your strengths don't lie there, make strengths.
Yes.
Like
work your ass off.
Like it needs to happen.
Yep.
Like,
or don't do it.
Yeah. Or don't, like that's
there is enough people out there that will want to do it and will put in the work.
100%. And everyone will be better off for it.
Yep.
Like I think of like all the people that did performance as their undergrad and are now trying to teach. Like, and whether it be because they didn't realize that when they moved to New York or LA or wherever, they were going to get mugged. They were going to have to live in their car. Yeah. Rent doesn't make any sense. So why did you move there to be a performer? Find a smaller place or like
that
start
has a
from
scene.
something.
Yeah,
like find a scene, work through there.
Omaha is a pretty damn good scene.
Yeah, even here is an all right scene just because of the fact that you can go to Omaha if you need more stuff.
I was just going to say, the fact that they're that interchangeable makes this a great area for...
100%.
Yeah.
Like, and the music scene here in town has so many people that are like there to actually work with you and actually encourage and help build you up.
Yeah, this is a good educator town in general. I will give it that.
100%.
Everyone that's here is like, for the most part, very, very welcoming and wanting you to do a good job.
Like that's that's so much of a better move and an opportunity because, and now too, with the fact that like you can make a living as a professional performing musician or whatever random aspect of that you want to do now, because being an artist is just so varied now.
Yes.
Like you can do that. You can have a live performing like life here. You can make a YouTube channel and teach / perform / whatever, right? Like Adam Neely has a master's degree. Like it's like, and he utilizes it. He doesn't use all of it for sure because like
he's probably making some pretty damn good money from
100% too. Like that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, and I've talked to Cameron about this a ton. Like the fact that you can like getting 1,000 subscribers isn't really that hard if you're consistent.
Yeah.
And you have something that like you're passionate about and good about.
And you promote it well.
Yeah, you promote it.
But
boom.
not to a point where it's obnoxious.
Exactly. You get it? Boom. You could even do it to a point where it's obnoxious and it'll work.
And it will
it'll work.
Yeah.
It'll just, you'll have a lot of annoyed
it's
people.
There, yeah. They know about it though.
100%.
Yeah.
But like, you can do that. 1,000 isn't that bad. Well, you know what's not too bad after you get 1,000? 10,000.
10,000.
And after 10, 50, 100.
Yep.
Boom. 100,000 people. If you know how to market yourself outside of just trying to get YouTube ads, right?
Then you got a business.
Like you've got an actual business.
Yeah.
Like you can do what so many music content creators do. One, Patreon exists for that. Like you have 100,000 subscribers.
Yep.
And you have a Patreon.
You better have a Patreon if
like,
you.
You have a Patreon. 1% of those people giving you $1 is $1,000. Like that's 1%.
Yeah.
And that's assuming you just have them give you $1.
Yeah.
Like so many more things.
Oh, I have a buddy who is out in Brooklyn right now. One of the most talented artists that I've ever known. Actually, one of the biggest mentors on my life as well. I went to high school with him. But he was, went to Chicago Art Institute.
Oh, yeah.
And was like this super out there modern art guy. Love him to death. And now he has his own Patreon and he does really long walks all over the country and interviews random people, kind of like the Humans of New York type stuff. And he makes a living doing that with like side art collecting hanging, like he does art hanging and stuff like that too, because he's got experience in that. And he writes a magazine called Pedestrian. And this is me saying, go look up Pedestrian newsletter, Alex Wolf.
There we go.
But yes, he's living his art dream in a way that is completely different than I think he imagined it.
100%.
Because when I knew him, he was a monster colored pencil artist, and he was really good with charcoal and all this other stuff. And then he went to art school and he started doing more performance art and more out there stuff. And then he did graphic design for a while and he liked it and he was doing I think he did some posters for Phoenix, the band, if you know them.
Oh yeah.
Which is pretty legit for an artist. And now he's doing this and I think it's super sick. And it's like he makes a lot of this money by putting a newsletter of what he does on his Patreon, and for $1 a month or whatever, you get sent this newsletter that he formats and writes himself, and you get specific full uncut interviews with some of the people that he interviews and things like this. And he's in Brooklyn, so like he did a walk from Brooklyn to Philadelphia.
Shoot.
So like he like real ass walking, like he's walking like full days and like crashing at New Jersey one night, crashing some place in Pennsylvania, and he's just documenting the whole thing, recording it all, stopping at random shops and stuff like that. And I mean, and it's art.
Oh yeah.
And it's super hip and it's like its own weird thing, and it's exactly what I imagined Alex would be doing, but not at all what I imagined he would be doing.
100%.
And I think that's the point of this.
Yeah.
Is that you can do that, and if it's not working in the way you thought it can work, there's ways to adapt and still make a living in a way that you would enjoy doing without, selling out or, doing something that you don't think is worthy of your time or whatever.
100%. Like that's the thing I've found more and more crazy is that like we understand art is hard. Like anything's hard.
Yeah.
But art is very, very difficult because you put so much of yourself into it.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's something that the general public doesn't necessarily feel the same way about.
100%.
Especially because it's so varied and there's so many different
Yeah.
kinds of art and
but like
very difficulties of how to understand it and
the
everything.
crazy cool thing about it too, though, is like that, you know,
Exactly.
because for every person that has a different perspective, view, dream, shaping of what their art is, right? Whether it be musical, where like we're primarily spaced, right?
Yeah.
Whether it be performing art, whether it be visual, like just charcoals, paints, whatever's, right? Like there is just a full spectrum, left, right, in between, everywhere that allows us to like actually do stuff, you know? And every single one of those things can work. They can.
You just have to put in the time and the effort.
You got to put in the time
and you
and the
have
effort.
to keep the passion alive.
100%. And to be fair, like, and I think this is a crazy thing too, because I think like now anything can work. Like because of the fact that like
we're in the age of overload of information.
100%.
Yeah.
So we can send whatever it is that we make out.
Yeah.
And
there will be a group of
there
people.
will be people that find it and that do like it.
Yep.
Like the number of people I've watched go from having one or like just being on Reddit, throwing their stuff in a like in the picture subreddit or in the art subreddit, and then having their own subreddit, and then quitting their job to have a Patreon, all in within a year, 6 months, 8 months. Like,
well, I think a great example is Wolfpack.
Oh, 100%.
I think one of the best examples of the modern era of music is how they did it. I mean, they're music school kids from University of Michigan that liked R&B music, liked funk music, liked jazz, really liked the standard rhythm section grooves. And they're like, we're going to create a traveling rhythm section, which 40 years ago, people would have laughed at you.
100%.
They would have been like, that's dumb.
Yeah.
That's a stupid idea.
Whereas what's funny too, like 40 years ago, people would be like, yeah, you could perform a recital for money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, maybe not 40, 50.
Yeah.
50 to 70. But like you could do that. You could perform a recital for money and like
people would come.
People come for a cover.
Yeah.
Like yeah.
Well, and people would come too. That's the thing. It was a different world then because there was not YouTube. Now, I mean, I love recitals and I'll go to people's recitals, but I definitely understand why people don't go to recitals.
100%. Like it's the same reason that I think like as much as I love singing standard rap, fewer people will care about me singing standard rap other than people that know me, which I mean, fair, right?
Well, and they're going to support you regardless of what you sing.
Fewer people outside of that circle will care all that much about me singing standard rap, and they probably wouldn't necessarily go out of their way to like listen to me perform it, because for my standard rap, there's thousands of other people that have performed standard rap that are just right there on Spotify and YouTube that are world-renowned, top-tier professionals.
It's true.
So, like, why? Like, they can listen to that for free. Yeah. Like,
why'd they come listen to some punk kid sing it not as good as... Yeah,
versus having the opportunity for me to sing. I think I told you about when I tried to get a Clear Midnight. It's a set by Simon Sargent.
Oh, okay.
Super awesome, but it's for baritone, horn, and piano. And
that's it. But that
super dope, right? Yeah. And I was like, these would make some cool videos. I just don't have, like, I just wanted to make sure they were in my range. Was denied the opportunity to perform music. Legit. And I was like, but like, I just want to put your music out there.
Yeah.
Right?
So like this guy was like,
didn't.
Really?
Yeah. He was like, I wrote this for baritone, horn, and piano because of the timbre of the horn and the baritone. And I was like, that's fair.
Yeah.
But there's tons of baritones that like might not have the sound of like, that would match.
Baritone,
you know?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm fully confident that I can make this sound good. Right?
Yeah.
I can make this sound good, even though I'm a tenor. Like my range extends lower than a lot of tenors.
And you got some
balls. It's got some warmth.
Yeah.
So much warmth and heaviness to it.
That's my
you know? And so like,
the baritone.
Exactly.
As we would
and so
say.
I was like, I'm glad that you consider me a tenor. Like that's cool, but like I also know like my range extends.
What was the lowest note?
I think the lowest note was not even an A. It was like a B flat or something. Like I was like, come on now.
I sing that. Yeah, it's like
I was like, I can sing that full
most
voice.
tenors
well.
should be able to sing
most
that.
tenors should.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like that's a note that comes up in tenors.
Exactly. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Like if you're doing what I do and extending to the low because I can exploit it. But like,
if you're singing Misty, you gotta. I mean, if you're
you
singing
gotta have that A flat in Misty.
I was gonna say,
and some days I have that A flat.
You gotta have an A flat for it,
but like,
and you gotta have a good B flat too.
100%.
Because it's
so
all
it's
in
like,
place.
so it's like, it would have been awesome to kind of do that collaboration and do that sort of stuff, and especially because there's only 2 recordings of it, and one recording is the only one you can find, and then the recordings that are on YouTube are in the standard recital 1 camera format. That isn't like a good camera. It's like a phone camera equivalent, not well recorded audio thing. And I was like, I can make professional audio recordings of this, make an actual music video of this. You can use all of this to whatever.
That's something the percussion section is very good at, and especially when was it Ian Willick?
Yeah.
Who are those guys that made all the videos?
But they were sick.
Great.
Yeah.
And that's some shit we need to be learning in school.
100%. Because you know what they can do with that? They can make their own channel. They can do whatever.
Yeah,
it
looks good.
It looks so sick. It's awesome.
Yeah. Like, even if the music isn't, and it is. I mean, the music is great, but even if the music isn't amazing, it's like those videos look professional as shit.
Yeah, and you get a combo of art that is what everyone's always looking for now too,
Yeah,
like,
they want good
without
video,
without even thinking about it too. Yeah. Because
it's
just
expected.
The level of expectation and competence of understanding. It's the same reason why like the way movies were written 50 years ago, 100 years ago, will not fly now 90% of the time, because like everyone's understanding, even if they don't realize it, their standards are just way higher.
Yes, it's true.
But it's what it is. Like we all got these opportunities and we can do whatever it is, and that's why it's so dope that we can just make music, make art, however it is, because catch us 5 years with our cool animations. Like that'll be.
And I think all of the best artists that I know have constantly tried to recreate themselves. Mm-hmm. So, I think that if you're constantly craving for something more and adapting, it can work. Mm-hmm. And especially, I mean, if we're in the world of academia, which most likely we will stay in. I mean, and I as much as I hate it, I love academia. Yeah. I mean, I love school. And to be a professor, you get to do recitals a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And that gives you the time to give people the opportunity to hear, hey, that was cool, that was hip, I've never heard something like that. I'm glad that something like this can be done in this setting.
Yeah.
I also think that recitals there should be more bars that have classical music in a less serious setting.
Oh man, 100%. You need to check out the second up with Greg and Janik and Chris.
Yeah,
because we talked about that briefly. Like it'd be so awesome to have that kind of venue.
That's one of my dream backseat ideas that I've always wanted to do is open a distillery, but a distillery that has a huge stage.
Bro, why don't we just we just need one other person.
Yeah,
and we will.
I already have people that are like, I have some older people that are like, if you do that, I'll fund it.
Well, let's do it.
I want, because I feel like theater is so cool, and it's pretty snooty as well. Mm-hmm. We need more dinner theater or bar theater. Yeah. We need more cool thespians. You know, we and I think that also there just needs to be a place that's like, hey, we have a stage.
And it's always there.
Yeah. If you want to come do a dry run of your recital before your actual graded recital, come play at this time, and people will be drinking and doing and talking, but you can go play in front of people, which is what people need to do.
100%.
And I think that is a great environment to start playing in front of people.
Oh, yeah.
Because it does make it less intimidating for when people are listening to you directly.
And honestly, I think that's because Greg had talked about this too, like I said. Yeah. But like that, I think is probably one of the best ways that we could make that school aspect practical.
Yep.
You know, like actually the real practical for performers, especially.
Yep.
how do you do these logistics? Like actually open it up so
Yep.
that these students and whoever
Have a night of the
can
week.
know how to do it.
Have a night of the week that you're just like this. I don't want to say open mic night necessarily,
But yeah.
but like we're gonna have classical Thursdays where if you have chamber ensembles or solo acts that want to come up and do 30 minutes, 45 minutes of a performance, go up there and do your time, and people will just be there.
Thursdays.
Yeah, and
Bro.
people will be drinking and hanging out and chatting, but there will be music in the background, which is what most people think of classical music at this point. Anyway,
Yeah, honestly, not gonna lie, I think we're gonna need to move on this 100%.
Yep.
Like there's because I literally just thought about like not just but like as you were saying it, I'm like that would do it.
Well, and if you have a big stage,
Yeah.
you could do musicals. You could do big bands.
Mm-hmm.
You could do rock bands. You could do stand-up comedy.
Oh yeah.
You could do
You can
slam
split it up.
poetry.
You can do whatever.
Whatever the hell you want. You got a stage.
And it's that would be so sick. Make
And
like,
then alcohol is nice too, because people like alcohol.
like that I don't know, second time's the charm evidently. That is happening. Like,
Alright.
that's we're doing that.
A distillery
I don't know how we're
is
doing it,
pretty
but we're
hip
gonna
here
do it.
too. I
Yeah.
feel like Omaha is maybe one or two.
Yeah.
This is the kind of area. Des
This is the place.
Moines,
Yeah.
Kansas City might be a little
Us
saturated.
Midwesterners like to get their drink on.
And breweries.
Yeah.
Before that was wineries.
Mhm.
Obviously, what's next?
Oh yeah.
Hard liquor. That's what's next. It's very doable. The hard thing about a distillery is whiskey takes time.
True.
So you would have to start the distillery with just clear spirits. You could do your vodkas and your gins and your aquavits and things like that, but whiskey would take a few years. And you do clear rum.
Yeah.
Your spiced rums take some time. But yeah, dude, I think I feel like if you're distilling alcohol, you might as well be maybe brewing some smaller batch microbrew stuff, because that's easy to sell, if not easier to sell. And then do food like have a chef and say this is the meal.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. That could be expensive too, though.
Or you could just have like a low-key
snacks.
small menu.
Yeah, snack
if you have like
appetizers.
Makes me think about I think it wasn't Portlandia, it was Documentary Now.
I love Documentary
I freaking love Documentary Now.
Is it Juan likes chicken and rice?
Yeah. Do something like that.
Yeah. Sometimes there's no banana at all.
You will come for miles.
If he can't catch the chicken with his hands, there's no chicken on there. But we got all the way out here. No chicken on the menu. Yeah, I love that episode. And I love that show. That's one of my favorite shows.
That one kills me. I just watched the co-op one.
Oh, Co-op's my favorite.
Oh, so hilarious.
If you haven't seen the original documentary that it's based on.
No.
Because they're all based on real documentaries.
Yes, I did know that.
So, and if you've never seen, I think it's Yuri, Dreams of Sushi. That's what Juan Likes Rice and Chicken is based on. But Co-op is based on the original broadcast recording of Company, Stephen Sondheim's musical.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that scene where they make the old lady sing over and she's got an eye appointment.
And she's got to leave.
Yeah. So that is like almost ripped directly from the original documentary with Sondheim doing that to Elaine Stretch, who's like one of the most famous Broadway stars of all time. And who's amazing. It's actually the recording of The Ladies Who Lunch.
Man.
If you know that tune. But yes, if you've never seen that, I own it. I'll let you borrow it. And there's it just got remastered with Criterion. I'm a big film geek, and that was like the newest.
I don't understand how you know all this stuff.
Big old film geek. But that documentary, D.A. Pennebaker, who's like the king of documentaries, just went into the studio. They booked out the studio for 24 hours to record the entire session, or the entire musical of Company. And so it's like a 24-hour session. And they just go through the whole thing, and Sondheim, like John Mulaney wrote it based on.
I love Mulaney so much.
So funny.
He's like my favorite.
Well,
comedian.
and he's so good at a Sondheim. Like once you see the original thing, he's so snooty, but like in such like a like.
I love you, but I hate you.
Yeah, exactly. Like when what's the word, harpoon or whatever. Yeah, and he keeps like making her say different words. Would you say that this way? Like that is so what Sondheim is like in the original movie. But yeah, Co-op, they put it on this new edition on the company DVD as well.
Yes.
And they have interviews with John Mulaney and Eliza Gadbury on it about the making of Co-op and like how it related to the original documentary. But yeah, it's so great. Hilarious. And that's an amazing documentary.
Shoot.
One of the best ever made, especially in the music world, because I feel like it's one of the early behind the scenes of this is what recording is a Broadway, full cast recording. It's so weird. It's and Co-op does such a great job of making fun of it too. Every second of it. I've watched Co-op. Claire literally like will get mad at me if I'm like, hilarious. Let's watch Co-op. She'll be like, you've seen that thing 10 times now.
I started watching it. I watched it with Crystal last week is when we saw it. Good. And she died.
It is so
I love
good.
It so much.
And Richard Kind, who I just have a man crush on anyway.
What a great guy.
John Mulaney's great, but Richard Kind. Love Richard Kind. And him with his I'll show you Allegro or whatever it is. You don't think I know what Allegro is. And he runs out of breath anyway.
Allegro.
Yeah. That's such a good documentary now.
So good.
What a great show.
All right, man. I guess we're done. This has been awesome. You're gonna have to be back on again, and you definitely will be. But
yeah, get me on, and me and Greg will talk about this business.
Oh yes, we're gonna put it together. Yeah. I'm helping facilitate it, obviously, so it's gonna happen. But
I got plans,
bro.
And I literally I talked to some of Claire's family members and some of my family members, and they're like, it's a great idea. If you ever give actual business plans out, I would probably be interested in helping.
We're doing this. Okay, so look, here's the deal. The animations are going to be in the next 10 years. This distillery brewery,
we got all
5.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just so that you know. All right, so thanks, my man.
I love it.
You're the bomb.
Thanks for having me.
For sure. All right, that's that.
Tight.